Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing. He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Sexual anarchy.
It's Monday. You know what time it is. Time to go around the nation. Jeff Waldorf here. We're going to have a fun and interesting show. We, of course, got conservative insanity, as usual, including Governor Kristi Noem wondering why the heck gay people or members of part of the LGBTQ community are so depressed in her state. Weird. We're gonna have to do a deep dive into that one. Oh yes, we'll have to figure that out. We have the Michigan Convoy. Yes, Michigan already having a convoy. I wonder what happened. I wonder why mainstream media is not reporting on the convoy. I'll give you the details. Marjorie Taylor Greene is complaining about being called a crazy person. Gee, I wonder why. Truth Social. An update on that. Part of it released earlier today. Fun. And then Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard, brand new speaker at CPAC. Interesting. We're going to have fun with that. Including some, why Tulsi Gabbard is a bit of a right-winger. Who would have known? Who would have known? All right, so, except for everybody. So we're going to dunk on her. Lots of dunking today, so let's go and jump into it here. Before we do, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Helps us out. Hopefully you all had a great weekend, and let's do it. She just can't figure it out. A Republican governor just can't seem to figure out why members of the LGBTQ community in her state are depressed.
There is a statistic circulating around right now that 90% of South Dakota's LGBTQ community is diagnosed with either anxiety or depression. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. That makes me sad, and we should figure it out.
Best part about that, the awkward silence. Like, oh, it makes me sad. We should figure it out. No self-awareness whatsoever. No self-awareness. So now, let's get to the details first, all right? Now, the data comes from a recent report by Help Advisor, a health and healthcare coverage assistance site that analyzed rates of anxiety and depression among LGBTQ plus people across the United States. There is no surprise that 87% of South Dakota LGBTQ residents have some health conditions, feel anxious and or depressed. Now, of course, that's higher than the national average, which is about 63%. Look, to be fair, if I lived in South Dakota, I would probably also be depressed, and I'm not part of the LGBTQ community just because I would be living in South Dakota. But all right, now the answer, of course, is pretty simple. Why is it so high? Because of people like Kristi Noem. It has a lot to do with conservatives, politicians signing anti-trans, anti-gay legislation, which again encourages hate and discrimination against those groups. So, I don't know. It might have something to do with it. And let me give you an example of such legislation. Kristi Noem actually last month just signed a bill that requires anyone playing on a female sports team to have been assigned a female at birth. So, trans people can't do it. Sorry, you can't join in the team. Oh. I can't seem to figure out why the people that I'm banning based on an activity or, from an activity based on a complete misunderstanding of how male to female transition works, and seemingly for no other reason other than, of course, to join into the culture wars so that I can win re-election. I don't know why the people affected by that would be depressed. I just don't understand. I don't get it. Weird. And here's the thing. It's not like there's some so-called scourge of transgender women coming into female sports and dominating. No, that's not what's happening. This is a solution in search of a problem, and it's not even the right kind of solution. It's not a solution at all. What it does is that it creates more problems. It makes it so that members of the transgender community, by the way, transgender women are women, end up being discriminated against. That's the whole point. That's the whole purpose. It should be very, very obvious why that would make someone from those communities a little anxious and a little depressed to live in a state where, you have politicians, you have the government, and a lot of people that literally fucking hate you just for what you are. Weird. Can't figure it out, though. Just can't figure it out. No, it's worse, right? So now to go along with this, you had a poll from the Trevor Project that found that more than 60% of the LGBTQ youth say that their mental health has deteriorated as a result of recent anti-trans legislation, including the bills related to sports. Once again, can't seem to figure out why, banning transgender girls from being able to compete in sports. By the way, sports, great team building exercises, very, very social, helps people stay out of trouble, fosters camaraderie and teamwork. I wonder why banning them arbitrarily makes them more depressed or could make them more depressed and feel left out. Can't figure it out. Now, South Dakota is the 10th state to enact the law affecting transgender athletes, and the first to do so in 2022. By the way, Noem was also an opponent of same-sex marriage, so this isn't just about trans people. And in 2021, she signed a bill that lets business deny goods and services to LGBTQ plus people on the basis of their religious beliefs. So the so-called religious freedom bills. Freedom. You know what freedom means? Freedom means being able to tell people I don't like to fuck off. Yeah, that's all right. I'm not gonna give them services. Oh, why are people calling me a transphobe? Why is is this cancel culture? No, bitch. You cancel. And here's the thing, right? Every conservative that complains about cancel culture, what do you think you're doing to transgender people? What do you think you're doing to the LGBTQ plus community? You are canceling them. That's what you're doing. You're saying, I don't want you here. I don't agree. Not just the fact that I don't like your life choices and I don't agree with same-sex marriage or being a transgender or whatever. No, you're telling them that I don't agree with you being alive. I would rather you not be here. I would rather you be dead. That's literally what they are telling you. And so, gee, I wonder why, once again, why they would be so goddamn depressed. But gee golly, she says, oh, you know, it makes me so sad. We should just look into it. We should just look into it. You have no intention of looking into this. You have no intention because, for one, you already know the answer. And by the way, you know what any so-called results she would come up with would be? Oh, you know, we looked into it and we found out that I guess, you know, the answer is they should not, they should just stop being gay or trans and find Jesus. That's our answer. That's our answer. Everybody knows that this doesn't work like that. This is fake concern from a obviously incredibly bigoted Republican governor that is doing real harm to a marginalized community in her state. Total trash. Total trash. Since the Canadian trucker protest, right-wingers in the United States have threatened us with their own promises of convoys, with millions of working-class people rising up against the unconstitutional mandates. Well, this weekend actually kicked off at least one of those promises and turned out to not be a good start. In fact, according to reports, around 10 people showed up to the Michigan Capitol on Lansing on Sunday afternoon for what was billed as the Lansing Freedom Convoy. Ah, yes, the Lansing Freedom Convoy. Now, that group has called on all our good men. Just men? Just men. Okay, all right, interesting. To park their cars in downtown Lansing and demand honest elections, voter run audit and canvasses, and for police to arrest and charge all the criminals in government, media, and in medicine. What mandates? What are we talking about for mandates? You realize you know, almost all the COVID restrictions are not in effect. There's been no statewide in Michigan mass mandates since June of 2021. And every county has so far lifted all, if not most, of their requirements. At most, masks are considered a polite suggestion. I should know, I live here. I live in Michigan. What mandates are you railing against? What mandates are there left for you to rail against in Michigan? None. And by the way, when it comes to federal mandates, the conservative Supreme Court blocked Joe Biden's testing or vaccine mandate for large private employers. That doesn't even happen. And by the way, after that was blocked, the Biden administration just pulled back. They quit. And so, yeah, there's very few left, except for a federal mandate requiring masks on public transportation. You know, planes, trains, that kind of thing. Which, by the way, if you want to, you know, you want to get into cram into a tiny little metal tube for several hours with other people, yeah, it might be a good idea to wear a mask. Or at least you shouldn't be against it. I'm not against it. So, nonetheless, and by the way, on those mandates, what does the Michigan governor have to do with any of those? All right, sure. Nonetheless, here you have the group that has been hosting daily, they call it slow rolls, around the Capitol building. These daily events, however, only had hosted a small number of participants. Not good. And earlier this month, another right-wing rally, this time, and this is what it generally has been boiling down to, questioning the results of the 2020 election. See, it's never been about the mandates, because again, we don't really have any. Really, it's, once again, right-wingers coming out and saying, Trump won, even though, again, there's no evidence of that. And of course, pushing nonsense conspiracy theories under the cover of, oh no, the worker, we're regular working people. and not at all right-wing conspiracy theorists. And you know, we just we don't like mandates. That's what it is. The mandates. No, we're not against. We're not for mandate. No, we're against them. Of course, yes, yes. Please, give me a break. Nonsense conspiracy theories. That's what this is about. They had called on organizers. Organizers had called on people to flood the building and demand a forensic audit. Which again, we've already done so many audits here in Michigan of the results of the election. But like, once again, nobody showed up. Nobody showed up. It's almost as if nobody cares about your dumb protest, your stupid protest. You got total of 10 people to show up. 10 people. Great job. Great job. In fact, here you have Craig Mauger, a reporter for the Detroit News. He captured this video of the massive convoy. Take a look. Did you miss it? Did you see it? Did you see the convoy? Massive. Come on. All right. You know what? It's funny. One more thing on that. That's about what you would expect. A denty old car. And again, I live in Michigan, and every once in a while, you see one of these nuts, essentially. And we have one near where I live. There is a truck that drives around. I see it every day, where the guy or whoever drives it, right? A beat up truck with Trump flags on it. 2 of them, not just one, 2 of them. And then like a Confederate flag poster in the back. Of course. Ridiculousness. All right, let's go to Marjorie Taylor Greene. When the PT Cruiser shows up, you know it's serious. Yes, of course. Where we go one, we go a few. That's really good. I like that. Oh, that's the best. That's the best. All right. Oh. Let's move on. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has just realized that she might have a bit of an image problem. And what better place to talk about it than on InfoWars?
And it just bothers me so much. They treat me as if I'm some kind of crazy person, or like I have 3 horns coming out of my head. But what they don't understand is they're the ones that are crazy, and they're the ones that are so disconnected. Wow. That's amazing. Oh man, it bothers me. I can't. Why would people treat me as if I'm a crazy person? I just don't understand. But you know what? It's not me who's crazy. No. Everyone else who's crazy. I mean, this is parody. Literal parody. Hey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know why people treat you like you're a crazy person? Because you sound like a crazy person. You talk like a crazy person, and you act like a crazy person. You know, if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Or, well, of course, you would probably call it, I don't know, a lizard person. Or maybe, I don't know, a Jewish space laser. I don't know. Speaking of her conspiracy theories and why she legitimately sounds insane, is because she had called 9/11 a hoax. No, it's a hoax, false flag. Yep, of course. Do you have any proof of that? Nope, but the jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams. No, that's what happens. It must be an inside job. Oh my God. She also, again, the Jewish space lasers causing forest fires in California, which it's actually climate change related. You can't pin 100% on climate change because, of course, fires have happened all throughout time. But, you know, the heat and drought conditions caused by climate change are a definite contributing factor. And then, of course, when you have all this dryness, well, you light a match and then, boom, there it goes. There it goes. But no, Jewish space lasers sounds much more plausible in her brain. Weird. But it's not just, corporate communism. I play this clip all the time. Oh, it's corporate communism. That's not a thing that actually exists. And actually, it doesn't even make sense. What is corporate communism? They're opposed. Okay, but anyway. Now, she also has not just said insane things. She has done insane things. In fact, I've shown you the video already where she had filmed herself essentially stalking Parkland shooting survivor David Hogg. So let me go back and correct that. She filmed herself stalking a Parkland survivor of the shooting, David Hogg. He was going around and speaking to officials on Capitol Hill about school safety, about making sure that, mass shootings like that don't happen anymore. For all that good that did him. Now, she had also visited Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's office and basically screamed into the mail slot. Productive use of her time, obviously. Oh, wow. And so, not only that, but she had attacked a Democrat with an office next to her because she has the member has a transgender child. So she, of course, had put up signs, saying that are incredibly bigoted and has spread dangerous COVID-19 vaccine conspiracies. And so, at the end of the day, she's off her nut. Completely off her nut. She's insane. And so, gee, I wonder why people call you crazy. I wonder why. And again, let me just put out the irony where she goes on InfoWars, which is known as, well, a place where you hear all these insane conspiracies. It's really, really amazing. And, I got to hand it to her for having just, I don't know, what is it, the balls or just maybe the lack of objective reality, like being so far into her bubble that she doesn't realize that she just did a perfect Principal Skinner impression. I mean, probably the best that I've ever seen. Am I out of touch? No. It's everyone else who was wrong. It's everyone else who was crazy. Wow. Wow. Yikes. All right. Let's move on. Go to Truth Social. She pushes cute conspiracy theories. Yeah, but it's like most of the Republicans at this point push them. So that's kind of like a mainstream Republican value at this point, just buying into conspiracy theories. Okay. Donald Trump's much hyped social media well, not exactly website, but app has been released, and well, it's already, well, there's some bugs. There's some bugs. Now, the Daily Beast is actually reporting that Truth Social, the Trump-created Twitter alternative, recently, actually earlier today, went live in Apple's App Store. So actually, technically Sunday night, nonetheless. Already, there's problems, lots and lots of problems, lots of glitches and error messages, and so not good. Let me give you some of that report. Around 11 p.m. Eastern Time, select users who tried to create accounts were repeatedly met with an error warning. Something went wrong. Please try again. Shortly thereafter, after around midnight, others were told that the app was simply too popular for them to join it. That's a good spin there. With a warning that read, "Due to massive demand, we have placed you on our wait list." Massive, massive demand. Yes, of course. So many people clamoring to get in to Truth Social. How many? 100 million? 200 million? 40 billion? 60 quintillion users? I don't know. The numbers we know had to have been tremendous to crash Truth Social. Yes. No, you know what the wait list was at? About 160,000. Now look, that's not very many when it comes to this supposedly well-hyped, gigantic, by the way, created for the most recent president of the United States. You think that you would get many, many more. But no, 160,000 on the wait list. That's not a big wait list. Now that said, it's not even available for Android. It's not on the. It's not actually on the web. There's no web portion. It's just for iPhone. So I'm sure Tim Apple is very, very happy about this. The fact that it's debuted strictly on his platform. However, the masses cannot get in. They cannot get in. So already, if you have a limited amount of users who can't even download it and potentially use it, that's funny because that few users, the small crowd that can actually able to download it, that's still too many people. It's still too many. What a disaster. An absolute disaster. But there's more. It gets funnier because now they might have just run into an issue, a legal issue involving their logo. Look. Apparently, one person had spotted that the new logo for Truth Social looks a lot like another one used by a British fleet telematics and fuel efficiency company called Trailar. So you can tell, not much of a difference between those two. Huh. Fascinating. Very interesting. Whoops. Okay. Now, based on recent news brought to our attention by various media outlets, this is according to a spokesperson, Matthew Summers, head of marketing for Trailar, talking to Vice News, showcasing the similarities between our own Trailar logo and the Truth Social logo, we are now seeking legal advice to understand what next steps and options available to protect our brand. Awesome. And hours prior to the official launch of the app, the Daily Dot also discovered some security flaws in the beta version. Yes.
Beta!
And which allowed anyone with the web address to register an account. Interesting. There's more. The Daily Dot was able to register at the real Donald Trump account and discovered one account which appeared to be dedicated to sharing content in favor of Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet. The best app, the greatest app, big, beautiful, very secure. It's so secure. It's like Fort Knox. You know the place, it's got the gold. Nobody can get in. Nobody can get in. It's so secure. You know, it's actually true. Nobody can get in. Again, earlier on Monday, former Representative Donovan Nunes, who, by the way, quit Congress. And now, of course, he was likely to not be in Congress very much longer anyway. There was a few scandals. And now he got a job running this doomed app. He says, oh, no, we hope that we're going to have all the problems solved by late March. So here we are, another delay. Sad, baby. Now, I'm not saying that, of course, launches and rollouts aren't difficult. Oh, of course they are. Yeah, I understand that. But what this is, understand what Truth Social is basically a Twitter knockoff, a clone. So I think any programmer that happens to be worth their salt shouldn't be having this many problems, right? I mean, you've got to have layers of security in order to prevent people from, well, getting into the site and doing things that they shouldn't. Now, that leads me to believe that these people who are developing it might be cheaping out. I don't know. I mean, the company, we know that it was bought, not bought, but financed through a shell corporation for acquisition. And so, look, that's kind of common, I suppose. But I'm just saying that the money that's supposed to be funded into this or pumped into this to create a secure, stable website, I doubt it's very much going to that. I think it's very much going to, well, Donald Trump and other executives, probably Mr. Nunes, and they're cheaping out on everything else. I know. Oh, what are you talking about? Are you saying they're grifting? Yeah, I am. At the end of the day, I think the results are pretty obvious. You get what you pay for. Donald Trump only hires the best. Yes, the best, the greatest, tremendous. I was going to join Quitter, but quit while I was at, yeah, I know, Quitter. All right. So let's go to some serious stuff. All right. Former Representative Tulsi Gabbard seems to have gone full mask off as of late. And people have some thoughts. I'll get to those later. The former 2020 Democratic nominee, who has now become a staple on Tucker Carlson's show for attacking woke Democrats and cancel culture, is now slated to speak at the annual Conservative Political Action Conference, or CPAC, this week. Fun. So now this is according to American Conservative Union Chairman Matt Schlapp. Oh, do I have a double lower third? I do. That's weird. Okay. So now what's interesting here is that she has been invited to this conference and has a pretty bad record of voting for, conservative policies, right? She has about an 8% rating from the American Conservative Union. So you would be wondering why she is being invited to speak. Well, here's the thing. This is not about actual policy. It never has been. No, this is about the culture wars. And Tulsi Gabbard has been fighting the culture wars on behalf of the far right for some time. And I mean culture wars, again, going against quote unquote big tech, but also attacking Muslims and, of course, members of the LGBTQ community. So now let me give you some examples here. Back in 2015, she joined with almost every Republican in voting for the American Security Against Foreign Enemies Act, which would have made it all virtually impossible for Syrian and Iraqi refugees to come to the United States. So, anti-Muslim immigrant. She also claimed to be against big tech, which, of course, is framed from the right as stifling conservative voices. Very interesting. Now, in reality, of course, we know tech giants like Facebook boost conservative content. Their algorithms are very favorable to conservative content. Just look at the usually every day, the top 10 Facebook pages. When it comes to traffic, it's usually Ben Shapiro, Bongino, right? You also have, either Matt Schlapp or Daily Wire. These very, ultra conservative pages do incredibly well on these social media platforms, not just Facebook, but of course, the right wing does very well on YouTube as well with reactionary anti-SJW content, i.e., of course, the culture wars. And so every once in a while, Facebook will, shut down, or they'll slap a fact check on one of these pages, and conservatives absolutely lose their minds. Oh my God, I can't believe you're canceling me. You are censoring me by putting a fact check on me. Yeah, okay. Sure. Now, she also claimed that she's anti-war. Well, she's fine with the war on terror, to be fair, which isn't quite the same as invading another country. Sure. Now, unfortunately, the war on terror involves things like signature drone strikes, which have killed many innocent civilians. Very disastrous. Not exactly a lefty position, being in favor of the drones. Now, she also supported so-called enhanced interrogation, otherwise, of course, known as torture. Not good. She also backed a number of socially conservative bills that were aimed at, of course, going against women's reproductive health and the transgender community. And, of course, some of these I'm going to point out are very early on in her career. Back in 2004, for example, Gabbard protested against a bill advocating for civil unions. Now, that said, at that time, the Democratic Party was also generally against same-sex marriage. So, okay, the Democratic Party position was also not great up until, of course, recently, and that changed during the Obama administration. Okay. Now, what's interesting, though, we'll go back to her back then, and it kind of shows the direction in which she tends to trend on this. See, Gabbard had replied to a request for comment on her father's connection with a cult leader back in 2004. This oddly worded email to the Honolulu Magazine accused them of a homosexual conspiratorial attempt to discredit her father. Quote, "I smell a skunk. It's clear to me that you're acting as a conduit for the Honolulu Weekly and other homosexualist extremist supporters of Ed Case." Now, later on, of course, she said, oh, I'm sorry for these positions. I don't agree with these positions anymore. All right, fair enough, right? If that were true, just 2 years ago, Tulsi Gabbard introduced a bill into the U.S. House of Representatives that would have dictated Title IX protections for female student athletes be based on gender assigned to a person at birth. So what she is that basically her bill would deny federal funding to schools that permit a person whose biological sex at birth is male to participate in an athletic program or activity that is designed for women or girls. And so, less conservative, no, well, not so much against gay people, I guess. But being anti-trans, she's all in it. So she is a TERF, which stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. So, yeah, very, very TERFy. Now, that said, you want to talk about her policy positions? All right, well, let's talk about her healthcare plan. During 2020, she said that she's in favor of Medicare for All. Medicare for All, the Bernie Sanders plan, she co-sponsored the plan. Well, what's wrong with that? What's going on there? Now, I'm in favor of Medicare for All. I love Medicare for All. I believe in a single-payer healthcare plan in which private insurance is unnecessary. Get rid of private insurance, take it out completely, and have Medicare for all literally cover pretty much everything. So now, what was her plan? She said, I'm in Medicare for all. However, taking away private insurance is un-American. I have this video here where she was having a conversation with Anderson Cooper. And of course, Anderson Cooper is going to bring up, this nonsense thing where he says, but if Medicare for all, it's going to take away private insurance. Yeah, but it would replace it with better insurance, cheaper. But here's what Tulsi Gabbard, here's that conversation. Take a look.
I have been and continue to be a supporter for Medicare for all that would guarantee that health care, that quality health care for every single American in this country. I also believe, like every other developed country in the world that has universal health care, that there is a role for private insurance to play for those who want it.
Do you think for those who are embracing taking away private insurance from people, ultimately, is that just strategically, politically, a non-starter?
I don't know about the politics of it. I just think about it from the perspective of people, of the American people, that if all of a sudden you are taking away their choice, that's not a very American thing, in my opinion. They are suffering because of big insurance and big pharma's influence over our healthcare system for so long, how they are profiting on the backs of sick people. So let's do our job, try to bring down the cost of healthcare in this country that's exorbitant, make sure people can get the quality care they need, and if they still choose that that's not what they want, they can go get the private insurance.
So basically her position is Medicare for all who want it. Well, that sounds very familiar. Who else said that? Oh, right, Pete Buttigieg. Yeah. So now, there's really not too much of a difference between that and just a public option, because you're basically giving people an option. And so the problem here is Tulsi Gabbard being disingenuous when the bill that she co-sponsored, the Bernie Sanders bill, would have banned most private insurance. In fact, H.R. 1384 specifically prohibits duplicative coverage by private insurance companies. And now, it does allow private insurance to cover any supplemental services not included, but the bill was so broad, the coverage was so incredibly broad and so incredibly comprehensive, there wouldn't have been a whole lot that wasn't covered by it, effectively ending the need for private insurance altogether. And so, nonetheless, okay, she talked about, it's un-American to take away private insurance, using Anderson Cooper's disastrously bad framing. Wonderful. Well done. Look, here's the thing. Anna Kasparian had her pegged from day one. She never gets enough credit for it. She knew who Tulsi Gabbard was. Now, where's everybody profusely apologizing to her for all the shit that she got from literally doing her job as a journalist? When you look into Tulsi Gabbard, hey, look, it's not her fault that she found all this negative stuff. Yes, everybody wants to hold up politicians and be like, she stood with Bernie Sanders in 2016. Therefore, look, I even fell for it for a short time. All right? I even fell for it for a short time because, oh my God, taking a stand against the DNC. What a wonderful person. And then it turns out that she actually just has taken that and has went over to Tucker Carlson to consistently bash Democrats and progressives. Weird. At the end of the day, it appears that Tulsi Gabbard is the ultimate example of what it means to actually go, quote unquote, bipartisan, which means adopting the right-wing framing and narrative on the culture wars and punching down. She's telling the right wing, go ahead and punch down at transgender people, gay people. That's fine. I'm a Democrat. And so, yes, I agree with you. And that gives you political cover. Why, yes, trans people bad, Muslims bad. Yes, we must ban them and continue the drone strikes. Yes, that's what we must do. I also hate woke culture. Woke culture. I'm such a progressive, and I agree with everything that Tucker Carlson says. Yes, we are the true Americans. No, yes. No, this is ridiculous. So now let's go to a couple of tweets here, just for some dunks. One person, Justin Barragona, says, and now she completes her Anakin Skywalker journey. Wesley Whistle says, it's hysterical how predictable this was. And it really was. Bradley Moss says, when owning the left is all you have, you bring in a speaker who had a horrible rating by conservative groups, but now who makes her living trashing Democrats. And that, by the way, the criticism of Tulsi Gabbard and CPAC comes from both sides. Both are not happy about this. Eyes on the Right said, oh, wow, who could have seen this coming except everyone? Two more here. Thirsty Thembo says, trash usually ends up in the garbage can, Matt. Yes. And the last one here, Patrick Rutt says, LOL, welcome home, Tulsi. Yes, I'm sure she will fit in very well at the GOP with her friend Tucker Carlson. All right, moving on. Last story, more serious. Buckle up. Five employees at a Christian school in Midland, Texas, were arrested for allegedly covering up sexual assault. Now, this had happened to a male student. According to a report from News West 9, the superintendent, principal, and baseball and football coaches at Midland Christian Academy were aware of video taken where a freshman classmate was assaulted and sodomized with a baseball bat. So I should have given you a trigger warning on that because this is a horrifying story. The assault reportedly took place in a locker room at the school stadium during baseball practice on January 20th. The victim had told a forensic investigator at a local children's advocacy center that he was in the locker room changing when the lights were turned off. Another student had told the victim that it was freshman initiation day before beginning the assault. The victim was pushed to the ground while being hit, while everyone, there were multiple people apparently in that room as well, where they were screaming at him. He stated he attempted to hit his attacker, but was told he was not allowed to defend himself. According to the affidavit, the victim then stated that he was assaulted sexually with a bat. So this is awful. And it kind of makes you wonder what the hell kind of culture the student body has at this supposedly Christian school. Now, Superintendent Jared Lee, one of the ones who was arrested, said that Midland Christian serves as a bright light in West Texas. While we strive for excellence in every aspect of our work to make our Father proud, while we never compromise the worth of a child or the calling to bring them in closer communion with God. Yes, that same superintendent had the gall to put that message. Oh yes, we will of course, never compromise the worth of a child. Well, as you can see, he absolutely did. That same superintendent on February 14th allegedly refused to turn over video evidence related to the assault to Midland police and refused to answer question. Officers determined that the five people arrested all had knowledge of the sexual assault, but did not report it as required by the Texas Family Code. Emails obtained by the police department reportedly showed clear refusal by those involved to report the abuse to authorities. Along with Lee, the other four officials were identified, big shocker here, as secondary principal Dana Ellis, assistant principal and coach Matthew Counts, athletic director and football coach Gregory McClendon, and baseball coach Barry Russell. Gee, what do they all have in common? What do they have all in common? Oh, right, sports ball. Ah, yes, we care so much about our sports ball team that we are just going to sweep sexual assault under the rug. Where have we seen that before? Where have we seen that before? Now, look, a couple of things to note here. For one, sexual assault, we know doesn't get reported enough as it is. Doesn't matter. I mean, you have such low reports of people and who get sexually assaulted. I mean, you have so many victims out there that will never, ever see justice, never have their story hit the light of day. And a lot of it, I believe, is the result of the teachings at some of these schools, that it's about shame. If you're victimized, you let it happen. That's what we see in a lot of, unfortunately, related to a lot of religion or religious teachings. Not always, of course, but here you have, again, shame, victim shaming, victim blaming in a lot of cases. And so now, that said, in this case, you had the victim that came forward, and that's super, super brave, especially considering how you had the entire staff that worked to cover it up. So imagine being in school and having this thing happen to you. And yes, some of you have correctly pointed out that there's even more stigma when it comes to a male. Because, oh, you're weak and you let it happen to you. What kind of alpha male are you? What kind of man are you? You're not a real man. And so that's, absolutely horrifying as it is. Sexual assault is already one of the worst things that you could do to somebody. And then blaming them for it and shaming them for it is even worse. Now, that said, here is more information from Nexstar saying, quote, parents we spoke with who wanted to remain anonymous said the arrest may have stemmed from what has been described as a disturbing video of a sexual assault that went around on social media. So now here's an even layer, an added layer of horribleness. Now that video is out there. So people can see it, people can watch that person get re-victimized over and over and over again. That's the culture of the school. Because not only did the culture of this school make it seem like it was okay, but again, you had students that were emboldened enough to film it and pass it around social media. Disgusting. I wouldn't be surprised if there were more victims here. When stuff like this happens that is so incredibly outrageous, you can't help think that there has to be more victims if it's so out and blatant about it. And not only that, but of course, you also had the staff that had worked to cover it up. Now, why would there, again, it doesn't really matter the reasons here because it's absolutely wrong. But I'm guessing here, even though it's my job to protect the students, what I'm going to do is I'm going to protect my school and I'm going to protect my sports ball team. That's what's going on. Hey, look, sports. Oh, hey, look, our reputation. It's the same thing with Jim Jordan, right? Another example, Jim Jordan. A lot of accusations there and cover-ups in order to protect, what is it? Oh, the name of the school. The good name of our Christian academy. This is a good Christian school. If this gets out, if this happens, well, this doesn't look good for us. No, it doesn't look good. It will embarrass us. Well, what about the victims who are constantly victimized and re-victimized by this? Every time somebody plays that video, it's still out there. No, this is horrible. Look, I'm glad some people have been arrested for this, and that, you know, for alleging a cover-up, or for allegedly covering it up. Now, they were reportedly charged with failure to report with intent to conceal, neglect, or abuse. Unfortunately, the charges on this are not very long. It's a Class A misdemeanor, which is only punishable by up to a year in jail. I think those charges should be a lot harsher. Again, we're dealing with kids here, okay? You allowed children, a child, to be assaulted under your watch and hid it for your own selfish reasons when you knew. There are people out there that have a plant that get busted with it that spend more time in prison than this. I mean, this is horrifying. No, they should absolutely, if convicted, get more prison time than that. Than just a year? No, absolutely disgusting. There actually needs to be some real justice. And this is not it. Okay. All right, that's all I got for y'all today. I've said for a long time that hazing mentality is toxic because there's always escalation. No, it's absolutely true. Yep. All right. So with that horrifying story and the rest out of the way, well, that's the show. All right. Gabby Mathis, thank you for the very kind $5. I really appreciate that. Hey, look, you know, part of my job is doing horrifying, terrible stories, talking about these issues, because they are actually issues, and I tried to lighten up the mood a little bit today with some other stories, but all in preparation for dropping the bomb on you. My bad. All right. Oh, you know, I wasn't even paying attention here to Twitch, fortunately. Let's see if I have any. Here we go. SBloom85, thank you for resubbing for a month at Tier 1. Appreciate that. Happy Monday to you as well. And Bake420, thank you for resubbing with Prime. I really appreciate that as well. 6 months. 6 months. 6th anniversary. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. Love you all. Have a great day. Hopefully, there is no war, no impending World War III. Everybody hope for that, you know, to avoid that. And we'll be here tomorrow. Now, if there is a nuclear war, I will likely not be here tomorrow. So, if that happens. But, let's all cross our fingers, right? All right. So, like I said, please like and share the stream. If you haven't already, thank you very much for watching. Tune in tomorrow. Same time, same place. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Wet ass P-word.
Big, massive dumps.
Tolerate. Mike Pence.
They want to make you drink Starbucks every day from now until forever.
Disappointed!
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.